Good afternoon, Fin fans, and welcome back to another episode of Fins News. So we're going to continue on our four-part series. We're on our second part. We're going to be looking at our schedule from weeks 5 through 8 of the upcoming season, and kind of just a little deep diving into each game to see what can present the Miami Dolphins problems or why they should come out on top in each given week. So without further ado, let's just get right into it, shall we? So we already went over the first 4 weeks and how of a gauntlet it is having to face the Patriots, the Ravens, the Bills, and then the Bengals for the first 4 weeks of the season. We had our record at 2-2 after the first 4 weeks, and in my opinion, I mean that's a plus just with the gauntlet of teams they have to play in the first 4 weeks. But in the next 4 weeks, it kind of eases up the schedule, and we can actually get on a roll and make some noise in the AFC. So in week 5, we are playing the Jets. Even though it's an away game in New York, I know the New York Jets had a really good draft. They got some DBs to shore up that defense. Robert Saleh is going to have his defense ready to go, trying to beat the Dolphins. I mean, both games last year were really close. It wasn't like we blew them out both times, and they've improved their roster greatly, just like the Dolphins have. I think it's going to be a close game in the first half, but I think in the second half our talent's just going to overwhelm the Jets. I mean, even though they're getting closer, guys, I mean, this team's going to win some big games this year and surprise a lot of people, in my opinion. But I just feel that the Dolphins offense has too much firepower with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, our running backs, our improved lines, and I believe Tua is going to figure it out and be able to win that game against the Jets on the road, to move our record to 3-2, and just really giving them momentum after they beat the Bengals on Thursday Night Football and then go play on the road against one of their rivals in their division. But I expect the Dolphins to beat the Jets 28-17, I'll say. So that'll improve the record to 3-2. And then we have a big home matchup against the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. You know, they have Dalvin Cook as well. He can run the ball. Their line is pretty solid. Their defense is pretty good. But they have trouble stopping the run. And I know that's been a weak point for the Dolphins in the last few years. But if Mike McDaniel is going to implement his run scheme on the Dolphins and is successful with all the tailbacks that we've added, I don't see how the Miami Dolphins at home can't stymie the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins offense, as long as the keys to this game is stopping Dalvin Cook in the running game and stopping Justin Jefferson, their big play wide receiver, one of the best young wide receivers in the league. But I have all the confidence in the world that our defense is going to be able to shut down Justin Jefferson. I'm a little more hesitant saying that we're going to be able to stop Dalvin Cook because in the past our defense has been solid in a lot of phases, but we've had trouble stopping the run. We did a lot better of it last year, but until we can actually consistently do it, that's the thing that's going to be worrisome for me. But at the end, I think Dalvin Cook's going to have some plays. I think Justin Jefferson will make a play or two. But with our corners, as long as they're healthy, and X and Byron Jones, I believe they're going to be able to. They're going to be able to switch off on guarding him, so they don't have to just guard him one-on-one the whole game, and they're going to be able to shout coverage to his side, just because they don't have so many playmakers on the other side of the ball, just really Justin Jefferson. And our defense will get a turnover, maybe two against Kirk Cousins. And it's going to be a hard-fought game, though. It's going to be closer than people think. The Vikings, even though their record didn't show it last year, their team was really good. They just had a couple bad breaks last year. But the team overall, their roster, it's a pretty solid roster, guys. But I think the Dolphins take this game as well. Having a 3-game winning streak, they're riding high with momentum. They would be 4-2 at this point. And then look at the next game, guys. It's going to be a huge game on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be high emotions. We all know, with Brian Flores coming back to town. It's a home game, though. It's Sunday Night Football. We haven't had a Sunday Night Football game, it seems like, in 4 to 5, maybe even longer, 6 years. But the NFL knew what they were doing by scheduling this game on Sunday Night Football because of the whole Brian Flores thing and how it ended pretty sour in Miami, and then he was coming back on Sunday Night Football. You know he's going to have the defense ready to go and firing on all cylinders. I think it's going to be a slugfest in the sense it's going to be a defensive battle all game. No one knows how to disrupt Tua more than Brian Flores, in my opinion, because he's seen him the last couple of years in the NFL and knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses. They're going to come up with a solid game plan because there's one thing you can say about Brian Flores, even when he was on Miami, his teams, for the most part, on the defensive side of the ball, they would have a good game plan to stymie the opponent's offense. So I'm really interested to see this matchup just to see how Mike McDaniel can overcome having to coach against Brian Flores as a rookie head coach. It's going to show a lot of maturity on our coach's on Mike McDaniel's part, just because he's going to definitely have to come up with some schemes that he's not normally coming up with, because Brian Flores is going to be dialed in, ready to go. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. The thing that gives me hope in this game is that I will take our quarterback over the Steelers quarterback right now. We don't really know who's even going to start in Pittsburgh. Is it Mitch Trubisky? Which, if it is, it is. So be it. He's an athletic quarterback that can. You want to keep him inside the pocket because he can get outside the pocket and run on you. So as long as we can contain Mitch Trubisky, if he's the starter, or I believe they actually drafted. I forgot who they drafted this year in the draft, but I want to say if it's Pickett, maybe. Um, the Pittsburgh guy, the quarterback from Pittsburgh, if they University of Pittsburgh in college, I think they got him, but I'm not too sure on that. If he's the starter, well, you know what our defense can do against rookie quarterbacks, so I'm not really worried on that end. And I'll take, like I said, at this point in both their careers, I'll take Tua over Mitch Trubisky, or I would take Tua over Pickett if that's who they did get in the draft this year. I would take him over both of them just because of the experience he has going into his third year. Should be knowing what the defense is trying to do, or have a pretty good idea of what a defense is trying to do to him. So I just don't see how we don't come away with this victory again, guys. See, going on a 4-game winning streak after that gauntlet of a start, our record's starting to look pretty good in the AFC. That would put our record to 5-2, um, and just starting things off in the right direction. But this game, I mean, the Steelers game is going to be a toss up. I mean, not toss up, but a hard fought matchup, just because of their defense. They can present a lot of problems to Tua, but at the end of the day, I don't know how they're going to be able to cover. They got to cover Jalen Waddle. They got to cover Tyreek Hill down the seam or on crossing routes. I would just have them both doing crossing routes all day through each other, and they're going to get open because their speed. You got Mike Gesicki can go down the seam. I mean, you got our running backs that can loosen up that defense that they try to throw at you in Pittsburgh. So I still think we're going to come out on top. It's going to be a low scoring game. I would say it's going to be one of those 20-14 type of games, or 20-17 type of games. But I think with Miami's momentum in the first few weeks of the season, they're gaining confidence. They're starting to believe in the head coach, and I just think that they'll be able to come out on top. Which, I mean, it is a coin flip. It could go either way. It could be a field goal game, but I just see us coming out on top there for sure. Um, and then the last week that we're going to be going over, we got an away matchup against the Detroit Lions. I know, guys, on paper we're going to say, oh, come on, this is an easy victory. But Miami, and not just Miami, every NFL team throughout the season always loses games that they think that they should have won, right? I mean, every NFL team has that. I think last year the Lions actually, when they were winless, I think they beat the Minnesota Vikings to get their first win of the season, and no one's seen that coming. So that was the Vikings' bad loss, and the Dolphins last year, look, they had multiple losses that were bad or questionable with the Jaguars, the Falcons. On paper, we thought those were wins last year, right? So you never can count out a team, no matter what. I know we have to travel to Detroit. The Lions, they got a few good pieces in the draft, and then from building from last year's draft, getting Panay Sewell, they're going to be a much improved team, in my opinion. So it's not going to be one of those laughing stock games. I mean, it could even go down to the wire, or the Lions could shock the world and beat us. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just trying to get you guys aware that the Lions, they do have some weapons. They're going to have to figure out a quarterback situation, who's going to start there. But Dan Campbell has them fighting hard. We'll see how he can mature as an NFL head coach. But I think it's going to be a tough game. I think it'll be close in the first half maybe, but I see at the second half us just taking over, controlling the clock with the running game. Tua's going to be able to make some plays with our receiving core. It's one of the best in the league on paper. They just got to go out and ball out. But I think we win this game 28-17, I'd say, or 28-17, 28-21, one of those. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Lions can threaten us yet with the type of roster we have. As long as we show up and we have a good game plan, and Mike McDaniel has these guys ready to play, I don't see why we can't beat the Lions and beat them pretty handily at that. So after our first 4 weeks and last week we were going 2-2. I mean, we were kind of happy about that, but we've seen the first 4 weeks, and then if you look at the next 4 weeks we have, it's kind of a little bit of a break in the schedule where we can start getting on a roll, and that's what I expect the Miami Dolphins to do this year. So after the first 8 weeks of the season, we would have a record of 6-2, and that's sitting real nice. Heading towards our tougher part of the strip. Our first 4 weeks and our last 5 weeks are really tough, especially with travel and playing tougher teams later in the year. So we need these 4 wins. We need to get on a little bit of a roll at this part of the schedule, and that's what I definitely see the Miami Dolphins doing. So after the first 8 weeks, guys, the Miami Dolphins sit at a 6-2 record, and that's just in my opinion, but. Leave your comments down below and let me know what you guys think after the first 8 weeks. What the Miami Dolphins record will be. Let me know if you think I'm right, or if I'm being too like a homer of the Dolphins, or you think maybe they even have a better record than 6-2. Just let me know, guys. And just real quick, another thing, I just want to thank each and every one of y'all for the continued support on the channel. We see it steadily growing organically, so that's a beautiful thing, guys. I truly appreciate it, and I love each and every one of y'all. If you guys are new to the channel, if you want to hit that subscribe button just to help build this channel, like I said, organically. But other than that, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Fins up. I'm out. Peace.